and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and God made. Today, you guys, as we are coming to a conclusion in this space, in this season in the life of our church, and we consider all that is before us and we consider all that is behind us. As I sat and thought not too long ago about what God is doing, I got tired. You ever think about something and get tired just thinking about something? You think about what you have to do, and it makes you tired just thinking about what you have to do. Anybody ever moved? You ever moved from, you ever sit and stared at the stuff you have to pack? You haven't started packing yet, but you're just staring at it, and staring at it makes you tired. Anybody ever worked any job at all? You ever walk into work tired? Because you know what you have to do, and as soon as you walk in the door, you know Bill from accounting is going to greet you at the door with his passive-aggressive self saying, hey, in that tone, and you want to choke him. And it's only 8 a.m. You ain't even got to your desk yet. Anybody got kids? You got kids? You remember when they was babies, and you knew they had used the bathroom, and you just stared at them while they stunk up the house because you didn't have the energy to change the diaper right then, and you felt bad as a parent because you're trying to figure out, am I going to get called in to the police because I let this baby sit 5 more minutes longer because I was just tired? You ever let a kid cry longer because you just didn't feel like dealing with whatever they was doing? You ever known your kids was destroying something in the house because they was too quiet, but you didn't have the strength to get up out your bed or your chair to go figure out what they have exploded at this time? So it gets to a point, you guys, where you just begin to sit, and there are days and times where you just get tired. And the weariness causes us to pause sometimes longer than we should. There's a thing called nap time. Anybody ever heard of nap time? Anybody heard of nap time? You didn't always shout about nap time like that. Some of y'all right now, it's your nap time. It's okay. If you're visiting with us, I say this all the time now. If you're sleepy, go to sleep. It's okay. We're not going to judge you. Nap time is a short period of sleep, typically taken during daytime hours, and it is an adjunct, it is an add-on to the usual nocturnal sleep period. That means nap time is when we go to sleep in the middle of the day instead of waiting for nighttime to go to sleep. Naps are most often taken as a response to drowsiness during waking hours. If you're drowsy right now, raise your hand. Drowsy right now. All right, put your hands down. I know who to watch. A nap, you all, is a form of biphasic or polyphasic sleep. Biphasic means you sleep twice in a 24-hour cycle. Poly means you sleep multiple times during a 24-hour cycle. Napping is physiologically and psychologically beneficial. Napping for 20 minutes can help refresh the mind, improve overall alertness, and increase productivity. It is interesting, you all, that during the middle years of our life, we are less likely to take naps. When we kids, when we babies, we all are taking naps. Somebody's putting you down for nap time. You taking a nap. You just fall asleep playing with toys. And then you get older. We get older. We hit, I didn't realize I hadn't taken a nap since probably I was 8 years old. And then suddenly around 37, I started finding myself sleepy in the middle of the day. And I did not know what it was. I thought I was dying because it's just something I had not recognized. But when you get older again, naps start becoming popular. Early years, we take a lot. Middle years, we take none. And older, we start taking them all over again. I submit to you all this, that the early year naps are what fueled your younger years. And the younger years are what necessitated your older year naps. What do you mean, preacher? It was the naps in the younger years that gave us the strength, the energy, the vigor, the vitality to run without ceasing. All those 19s and 20s and early 30s. But then it is the 19s, the 20s, and the early 30s that cause us in our 40s, 50s, and 60s to be sleepy. I never forget when I was about 35, and I often have struggles with sleeping well. And I was 35 or so, I went to my doctor and I said, man, I don't really sleep. And he asked me about my sleep pattern, sleep habits. And I told him, he said, when you were in college, when you first went to college, what was your sleep pattern? Like, what did you do? I said, oh man, we ain't sleep at all. We would, we would go to class sometime, and then we would go play basketball. We would go work out, lift weights. We would go this place called the Quad, and we would be at the Quad where everybody was trying to holler at the girls. And then we'd go to Empey. Empey was the gym. We'd go play basketball for a little bit, and we would leave from playing basketball at Empey. We would go back to our apartments, change clothes, play video games. For Super Mario Golf was our thing, and so we play Super Mario Golf until about 8:30, 9 o'clock, and then we would get dressed and go to whatever party that was happening, and we'd be at the party from about 9 to about 2, and at the same time, I had to work because my parents weren't about to pay for our rent because he's like, y'all too bougie, you want to stay in the dorm, you want to have your apartment, you're going to pay for it yourself, so I had to work, and so I had to go to Solo Cup by 6 o'clock a.m. Solo Cup, the people that make the little red cups, I had to go work there, and I would stand for 6 hours, 7 hours, sometimes a 12-hour shift, and I would just push these red cups along this little line. They wouldn't let you sit down. They didn't give you a chair. You just had to stand there and push these cups for 12 hours. I got so bored one time, I took one of the forklifts and tried to drive around the plant, and I crashed the forklift into a batch of olive oil, and it spilled all over the place. That was a whole other thing, but it was a fun day at work. I wasn't bored no more after that because they fired me. And so you would go to work, and then I would leave work and get off work about 3 p.m., and then I would have to go talk to all my teachers and explain to them this is why I missed class, so I had to work, and then I'd do fake makeup homework for about a couple of hours, and then we would go get something to eat, and then we'd go back to Empey, and then we'd go back to the Quad, and then we'd go back to Super Mario Golf, then we'd go back to the... And so my doctor said, you never slept. I said, no, I ain't sleep at all. And he said, that's one of the problems is that your body adjusted to a rhythm and a behavior that was not sustainable in another season. Many of us get used to a rhythm and a behavior that is not sustainable when Christ comes. We live a life minus Jesus, and then Jesus comes along and says, I want you to build the kingdom, and now we have gotten ourselves used to a rhythm that we cannot sustain, and we end up, watch this, wearing down faster. And so now you done found Jesus, now God is in your life, and you find yourself tired. You find yourself unable to do the things you used to be able to do. You find yourself hearing God say, I want you to do X, Y, and Z. And you say, Lord, I really want to do X, Y, and Z, but the way my sleep is set up right now, I don't know that it's possible because I am tired. And if we're honest, most of us in this room right now are tired. And if you're not tired right now, you have been tired. And if you have not been tired, as my old grandma used to say, keep on living, baby. You will one day find yourself tired. Life has a way of making you tired. People have a way of making you tired. Stuff has a way of making you tired. And before y'all look at me crazy, I have to say this because it's true. Church folk have a way of making you tired. You would imagine that not in church, but church can be the place that makes you the most tired with funny acting folk that act like they always have known Jesus, and people that act like they love the Lord, but they really don't like Jesus that much, and they really don't like you. Many of us in this room are physically tired to the degree because work wears on your body. You kept that same crazy, insane schedule for 30 years of your life. My parents, I'll never forget, got up every day at 4 a.m. in order to get up, leave the house by 5:30 to catch a 6 a.m. train to get downtown by 8 a.m. to start work by 9 a.m., get off work at 4:30, 5 o'clock, walk back to a train, catch a 6 p.m. train, get back to the suburbs at 7 p.m., get in the car, drive to the house. My mother cooks dinner. My father is trying to clean up this and that, and they did this every day. Many of us in this room, you have that same insane schedule. You've been up every day at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 20 years. Physically, we get tired. Not only that, but some of us are mentally tired. Mental tiredness is worse than physical tiredness because the mind gets slow on you. I didn't know your mind changes as you get older. When I started realizing I was forgetting stuff, and I'm like, why am I forgetting things? I thought I was dying. Till my father just said, no, you just getting older. You get mentally tired, mentally drained. You know you are mentally tired when everybody get on your nerves. Now, take the V out. When everybody get on your nerves, when your favorite person gets on your nerves, you know you are mentally tired. You know you mentally tired when you are cussing out the TV. Don't look at me like that. Some of you all use ungodly language outside of the church house. Mental tiredness wears on you. Mental tiredness is when you can't focus on things. Mental tiredness is when your mind just keeps running and running and it never settles down. Mental tiredness is when you are thinking about one problem and solution, then you got to jump to the next problem and solution. Mental tiredness is when you are physically in a place, but you are not mentally in a place. Mental tiredness is when you can sit in church and you can open your Bible, but you ain't heard another word that was said after turn 2 because your mind started going to tomorrow and what you got to do Tuesday and what you got to do Wednesday. And then the worst thing is when your mental tiredness keeps making you play hopscotch with the word. And so every time God says something and you're like, oh, that's good. But then you say, oh, but then that reminds me that I got to pay this bill and I got to deal with this and I got to handle that. And so you 30 minutes into the message and you still back in the beginning of the message because you're trying to figure out how you're going to pay X, Y, and Z. That is mental tiredness. Sometimes we are so mentally tired and people, it's the worst thing when you're mentally tired and the people around you can't tell that you're mentally tired because you look physically fine. And because you look physically fine, they don't know that you're mentally tired. And so they press the buttons that they should not press. And you are just trying to say, leave me alone. Just give me 5 minutes because if you keep pressing these buttons, I don't care if we in this church, I am going to cuss you all the way out because I am tired. You have been so tired the usher can't make you feel better. Any little thing. They said, why are you sitting here? Now, why you got to sit me here? I don't even know who sat here last time. This is staying in this chair. This just don't make no doggone sense. I can't stand this church. I'm about to leave. And where's Pastor? I don't even see his car out there. Now, who he going to have up there preaching today? You know he be having all kind of people up in here. Child, I ain't got time for it. I ain't got the, and this is the line. I ain't got the energy for it. Spiritually tired. When you had to drag yourself out the bed and force yourself to come to church. You are spiritually tired if you are only here because you paid. You are spiritually tired if you are made yourself a hostage. Spiritually tired is not just coming to church. Spiritually tired is when you got to force yourself to pray. Spiritually tired is when you have to force yourself to read the word. Spiritually tired is when Jesus gets on your nerves. Don't look at me like that, like Jesus ain't never got on your nerves. If God ain't never got on your nerves, you ain't been saved long. Because God has a way of saying wait when you want him to hurry up. And God has a way of hurrying up when you want him to wait. Spiritually tired, mentally tired. The problem is this, you all. We have not understood rest. I wanted us to pause for a second as we consider where God is shifting us to. You have, write this down. I ain't told you to write nothing down yet. Write this down. You write this like this. I have more in front of me than behind me. I have more in front of me than behind me. Check this out. Verse 2 says, and on the seventh day, God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. This is the first problem, you guys, I want to point out to us is this. Many of us do not understand the difference between rest and retirement. We don't understand the difference between rest and retirement. Yeah, you've been tired. Yeah, the last church broke your heart. Yeah, the last marriage did you in. Yeah, the last job crushed you. But how long you going to be sitting down? How long you going to take to figure out what God wants next? I'm running so many folk, this church, many other churches all across the country, and pastors all over have the same issue. You have capable, qualified leaders who don't do anything. And you ask why you're not doing anything? What's going on? And they say, well, I'm just tired. The last church and the last this and the last that and Pastor, I'm just taking a break right now. I need to get myself together and figure out the next move. Oh, you say, okay, I understand, no problem. Understand that. How long you been resting? Oh, about 14 years. How long does it take to figure out what's next? It don't take you that long to figure out what you eating for lunch. Yeah. Money is tight and you've been on a fixed income and yeah, you've been unemployed and yeah, you bounced from this job to that job. But how long you taking a break from giving? Don't worry, we ain't staying that long. I see y'all faces. Some of y'all was like, I thought we was off of that. How long you taking that break? Well, Pastor, I understand. I've been broke for a couple of years now. Oh, okay. You showed and gained a lot of weight in them years. You'll catch it later. Yeah, the doctor said X, Y, and Z, but how long do you chain your destiny to your prescription? How many years you going to say you can't fast because you're on medication? There's a whole lot of things you can fast from other than food. And so we get tired, we get weary, and we get wounded, and we end up sitting. But the problem is many of us have not understood that there's a difference between rest and retirement. We have allowed the devil to make us so tired that we go sit down and we never get back up. This is the problem. How many of y'all watch sports? Anybody ever watch sports ever in life? Raise your hand. Okay, put your hand. How many of y'all have never seen sports? Anything. Football, baseball, any. Okay, amen. Bless the Lord. Hallelujah. Watch this. We have begun, and the danger the trap I don't want us to fall into is let's not treat halftime like it's the end of the game. See, what we have to understand as a church in transition, as people in transition, that moving to a new spot is not the end of the game. It's not the last buzzer. It is halftime. And many of us in this room, we have treated it like it's end of game. Like, yes, we've won. No. Many of us in this room right now, you've been sad, you've been depressed, you've been down on yourself, especially in the season of the holidays, because you're looking at everything you're facing in your life, and you live and walk with your head down as though you are walking upon the final buzzer of the fourth quarter. But I came to tell you, this ain't the fourth quarter of your life. This is only the second quarter of your life, and you are not going to the end of the game down. You are going into the locker room down. And that's a whole different story. Some of y'all ain't catch it yet, but you'll catch it in a few seconds. That means that you still got space to regroup, rehuddle, and figure out how to come out stronger than you did in the first half of your life. 2019 is not over. Your life is not over. And I don't care how much you are down by now. It does not mean you are about to lose the game. You ain't called into retirement. You just need a rest. The Utah Jazz were playing before a hometown crowd at the Delta Center. And the score going into halftime was 70-36. The Utah Jazz were losing 70-36 at halftime. After halftime, led by the scoring efforts of Karl Malone with 31 points and Jeff Hornacek with 29 points, the Utah Jazz came from behind to win in one of the largest deficits overcome in NBA history. And all they needed was halftime. All they needed was a rest. As a church, we go into, in 2020, 15 years of life. And in the first half of the life of this church, we done been through a whole lot. And many people have decided at some point that, oh, the game is over. Ain't no way to recover from that. If you look at the life of Boss Church, it started out as based out of South Sacramento. Throughout its life, there have been multiple times anybody could have said the game is over for them. Game could have been over a few times in Bishop's life. Game could have been over when God called Bishop home. Game could have been over in the 3 years without a pastor. Game could have been over when one person was called, but then that did not go through. Game could have been over when I showed up, because everybody act like they may like me, but everybody ain't going to like me. I know ain't going to be everybody's cup of tea. And game could have been over when we did this. And game could have been over when I make a bad decision, because I ain't perfect. I ain't going to make all the right decisions. Game could have been over when the board does something you don't like. Game could have been over when we try to figure out every month how we gonna make bills, and bills keep going up, and now we gotta move. And what game could have been over a whole bunch of times. But one of the things God has been saying to me over and over is, Darryl, they have misinterpreted the sound of the horn. That horn they hear is not the end of the game. It is the end of a quarter. I came to tell somebody, you are not at the end of your game. You are at the end of the quarter. Pastor, how do you know that? Because you still here. If you were at the end of your game, you would not be here. So yes, the death could have made it the end of your life. Yes, the divorce could have made it the end of your life. Yes, the job loss could have been the end of your life. But the fact that you are still here means that cancer was not your fourth quarter. It means sickness was not your fourth quarter. It means depression was not your fourth quarter. It means job loss was not your fourth quarter. You are just going into halftime. Let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season you shall reap if you faint not. Let me say that. Do not get tired in doing what God has called you to do, because in due season, that means there is a season that is due to you. That means if you keep sowing, that you are owed a season in which you are guaranteed to reap everything you have sown. Let me say that again. Yes, you have toiled. Yes, you have been in pain. Yes, you have suffered. Yes, you have struggled. And at some point you say, God, I'm just tired. I'm tired of digging up these weeds. I'm tired of digging in this grass. I'm tired of losing loved folks. I'm tired of losing this. I'm tired of you taking stuff from me. I wish sometime you would just give me something. It feels like you've been taken for the last 5-6 years of my life. And God says, don't worry, baby. I got to give you a different season, because I owe you a different season. Because you've been sowing, I I owe you, I promise you, I guarantee you that there is a season that is coming in your life. And when that season hits you, everything you have sown in tears, everything you have sown in sorrow, every night that you cried, every night that you put yourself to sleep, every day you sat in the car not wanting to pull out the driveway, I promise you, baby, I'm going to make up for every dime you lost. I'm going to make up for every heartbreak. I'm going to make up for every night your mind could not settle because I owe you. Watch this. In due season, Tanya, if we faint not. You can't collect on a pension if you quit. No man is fit for the kingdom that puts his hand to the plow then turns back. Yeah, you tired, but who lied to you and told you this was going to be easy? Who told you this was going to be a walk in the park? What preacher told you that so I can go smack him for you? You went to them blind prophets that told you that you're going to turn around 7 times and houses going to fall in your lap and cars going to show up. No, that ain't how that works. I found that when you come to Jesus, stuff starts moving away. I found when you come to the Lord, things get heavier. There's a weight that he sits on your back. But the Bible tells us, don't you worry, for the suffering of this present day, I reckon is not worthy to be compared of the glory that we shall find in him. When you have gone through suffering, when you've gone through pain, and you just get tired, it's good to know that this ain't the end of the game. It's just halftime. Nothing we don't understand about nap time, about rest, is because often we don't discern the difference between a project and a career. I worked for Manpower. Anybody ever heard of Manpower? I don't know if they're still around. Are they even still around? They still around? When I was in college during that time, I told y'all the crazy story. We was, hanging out doing, I was, not sleeping. When I got fired from Solo Cup, I had to go find a job. Because my father was not one of those fathers who's just going to be like, well, we'll pick up the slack. He was like, no, I guess you need to find a job. And I tried to call his bluff, Keisha, and we were about 2 minutes from being evicted, fooling around trying to bluff my father. So I just went and got a job, and I had to go to Manpower. Went to Manpower, and those of y'all that don't know, Manpower is a temporary job placement service. And so you would have to go in early in the morning and fill out some stuff, and you sit there and wait, and they place you in a job that day. The job was typically short term, so you either worked just that day or you worked a couple of days, but it was not a long-term job. I had very amazing, interesting adventures working for Manpower. I've laid sod, I've built a house, I've built stairs, I've repaired cars, I've cleaned guns. I never forget one time we worked at Manpower and we were laying sod, and one of the guys working with us, Joe, asked for a ride home, and so my guy was like, cool, we'll give you a ride home. So we driving from the job full of dirt, covered in grass, and he says, can y'all stop by this store real quick? We said, oh man, no problem. We stopped by the store. He goes in the store. We just sitting there chilling. Yeah. And he comes running out the store, jumps in the car, and he's like, go. Yeah. So, we had interesting times working at Manpower. And the thing about Manpower, though, is on those days when you are fleeing a crime and realize that your temp job has just made you an accessory to armed robbery, you are really trying to ask the Lord, why am I in school? What is all this about? And the Lord had to remind me in those moments, son, this is not your career. It's a temporary job, which means you won't always be an accomplice to armed robbery, which means your coworkers will not always stick up stores on your break. It's a project. You got to understand the difference. A project, a temporary job has a defined beginning and a defined ending. Watch this. Within something else. The temp job was within a larger job or contract that Manpower had. I was a temporary fill for a long-term problem. When you work on projects, anybody worked on a project? Okay, not even at work. You did projects in school? Anybody did a project in school when you was growing up? All right, even if it was bad, you failed it. It's fine. It's supposed to look like the Taj Mahal. It didn't. It's okay. Projects are not the totality of something. Projects are those things that start on a date and finish on a date. So while you are in the 9th grade, you will have a project due. When you turn in that project, you are not finished with the 9th grade. You still got more 9th grade to go. Y'all with me so far? Projects, you all, come to a completion when they are finished. Watch this. The 9th grade comes to a completion when you are finished. Two different things. Many of us have struggled because we have treated projects like their careers. You've made temporary things permanent and permanent things temporary. You know what will make you tired real fast? Doing short-term stuff for a long time. That's why it's called a sprint. Because you can't sustain no sprint. You can walk a whole long time, but you can't run as long as you can walk. And some of us are trying to do and sustain short-term stuff long-term. That's why you're tired. A lot of things that's been in your hands have been projects. Watch this. A lot of things in whose hands you've been, you were the project. Now let that sit with you for a second. And sometimes we struggle because it seems like God took his hand off of us. And we're tired and we're weary and like, God, where are you? It seemed like you were there in the beginning. I got saved and you were everywhere I turned and everywhere I looked up. You were speaking and you were talking and you were doing. And I just knew your presence was with me. And I just knew your hand was on me. And I just knew you were with me no matter what I was going through. But it seems round about the last 4, 5, 6 years, God, that it seems like you done kind of backed up off a brother. You done backed up off a sister. And I'm trying to figure out how I get in the church, how I get more involved, how I go deeper in your word, and you back up off me. And God says, baby, I'm still with you, but no, my hand is not on you like it used to be, because in that season you were a project. Somebody will catch it in a second. But I finished the work I was doing in that season of your life, and so it was no longer necessary for me to keep my hand on that spot in your life. And so when I take my hand off of an area of your life, it's not because I'm deserting you. It's because I'm finished. You're going to catch it in a second. I ain't got to keep touching that spot because I did everything I was going to do. And you the only one that don't know it's done. But I know my work has been complete. And so I can step back off of your business because it's done. I can step back off of your physical body because it's done. I can step back off of your mind because it's done. I can step back off of your marriage because it's done. I can step back off of your kids because it's done. I'm going to put my hand on the next project because you got a whole lot of stuff I got to work on. But this part of your life is done. I said, Lord, this little crazy building we in keep falling apart. I don't know. It's like you don't love us no more. Roof leaking and lights going out, electricity don't work, stuff just all over the place. And then we got to pay for it, but we can't own it. And I'm like, God, you're going to have to help a brother. You need to help me understand why your hand ain't on this building no more. And the Lord said, son, that's because my hand's on your next building. You don't need God to keep his hand where you've been. We keep asking him to touch our past. And God says, baby, your past is done. I'm in your tomorrow. That's why the Bible says don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself. So don't you worry about what you're going to eat and where you're going to sleep and what clothes you're going to put on. Because why is tomorrow always taken care of? Because that's what God is. But God, you don't understand what they did to me. Oh, what they did? Let's talk about what I'm doing. You keep wanting to talk about what they did. Let's talk about what I'm about to do. You keep talking about what you lost. Let me tell you about what I'm about to give you. You keep worried about what they snatched from you, but you have no idea what I got my hand on in your tomorrow that I am preparing for you. You don't understand. That's how all things work together for good. It's because I am already working on your good that ain't shown up yet. That's why I can say in due season you will reap if you faint not, because all you looking at is where you dug the hole and put the seed. I'm standing over here where the rain is falling and where the seed is breaking and where the roots are going down. I'm standing in your tomorrow watching the ground break open and watching the flower come out of the dirt. I'm watching it bloom in tomorrow while you staring at the dirt of today. Stop staring at the dirt of today and look at where my hand is in the harvest of your life. Watch this. We struggle thinking God took his hand off. But the text says God made an end of his work. But the crazy thing is he made an end of his work, but he wasn't done working. God's been moving time and things ever since the beginning. He stopped this project in Genesis because he was done with it. I had a boss. You look at it, what God does. Some theologians ask this question. How can God? Which is kind of crazy when you say God. How can God? That's just crazy. That's a whole nother message in itself. How can God? The fool. Matter of fact, I might have to write something on that. The foolishness of asking, how can God? How can God create everything in 7 days? How can God create everything in 7 days? Now, the first obvious answer is he's God. That's a simple one. The more drawn out one is like this. I had a job, and speaking of projects, this particular job I worked, it was at Saratoga. It was a seasoning company. It was one of those places where you had an office in the front, you had a plant in the back, and they made seasons and spices, and you always left stinking. Right, you just because it's a million spices, and so I would get home, and my father would be like, I lived with my parents at that time. He said, you need to leave that stuff in the garage because your mama don't like the way it smells, because there's just a lot of smells to it. And they hired me, and my first 2 weeks there was a struggle. It was a struggle, and the reason it was a struggle is because I would have stuff to do. And they would give me stuff to do, and me being me, I would work on it, and I would finish it kind of fast, Joe, but I was full-time, so I worked Monday through Friday, and so I would finish things kind of fast, and so I would be done with a lot of stuff by like Tuesday, and I'd be done by Tuesday, and I didn't know that you're supposed to make yourself look busy on your job. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm just playing. I'm walking around the plant. I'm saying hey to people. Hey, what's up, George? What's going on, man? How you doing, man? What's that made out of? You know, I'm just chilling. I don't realize that they and so I almost fooled around, got fired because they like, we need to. What's going on with you? You ain't doing no work. And I'm like, no, my stuff is done. And so after that, I realized. I said, okay, now I know how this goes. I know how this goes. I work really fast. And so I went to them. I said, hey, is there some more stuff you guys can give me, some more responsibility? And they said, sure, we'll give you some stuff. And my boss didn't like me. I don't know why. I mean, I'm just an amazing person. But he didn't like me. And so he did one of those passive-aggressive things that irritate you. He said, sure, Darryl, I'll give you some more work. And so he gave me these massive responsibilities. I was like the accounts payable guy. He gave me stuff like I was over all of accounting. He just gave me massive stuff. And so he didn't realize, though, that I'm like a genius. He didn't know that. I mean, how could he know it? Because I'm humble, I'm low key, no way the genius is just roaming the warehouse, so he didn't know that. So he gives me all this stuff. And so what I figured out, Shalon, is I realized, watch this, how to pace myself. And so I said, he ain't gonna get me again with this trick. I'm not gonna be finished, And so, but what I did is I would complete whatever he gave me with excellence, and I would complete whatever he gave me at a nice pace. The problem was it still was much faster than he anticipated, and so I was completing most